You're juniors? Well, I have impressive news for you. Because we are graduating your peers in another week, in our minds, we start to consider you seniors. So I say that to tell you this. It is time. It is time. It is time for you to figure out what it means for you to be an adult, for you to graduate, for what's next. It is time. So here's what the past month has been like for the counseling staff. We've met with all of the seniors. I can't tell you how many kids, your peers, are not entirely sure what's next. I can't tell you how many of your peers have had tears because in one more week, it's time. And I say that with real sincerity because I can't make the decision for you. Your parents cannot make the decision for you. You have to decide what's next. I heard somebody say right when he came in, I'm not going to college. So again, this is going to be something amazing to come out of the mouth of a counselor, but I actually don't care where you go, because not everybody does go to college, but you have to do something. There is something within you that says, I have a higher purpose, and you have to be the one to figure that out. I can't tell you what to do. Some people are going to be going into the military in a couple weeks, right, that are graduating. Others are already involved in vocational programs. Others know that they're going to the University of Michigan and already know who their roommates are. Others will be going overseas to study, and they already know that. I can't stress to you enough how important the next year is. And I was looking at some statistics this morning. Your peers that are graduating in a week, their average grade point average was a 3.15. Your average grade point average is a 3.02. I point that out to you not because I like to compare people. I like to make sure you are working to your full potential. So what you need to think in your head is, am I doing the best that I can? That's what the question is. We gave you a handout. I want you to look at the third page. It has a full breakdown of all the colleges in Michigan with what the grade point average is and the ACT score for students in order to be admitted. When you look at that list, and you guys have all just received your ACT scores, I want you to think, where can I go? Can I get into the school that I've had on my mind that I wanted to go to? Because now it is time. In a couple months, you will be applying to those schools. Your records with what you have achieved so far will go with you. It is time. So if you look at that list and you think, oh my gosh, I'm just a couple points away from getting into this school that I wanted, I've got good news for you. You have a couple weeks to raise your grades. If you're somebody who does not study for final exams, I would study. I would work with teachers. If you look at the ACT score required for your university and you're a couple points below it, I would retake it. I'm telling you this because I care so deeply about your future, but I cannot hand it to you. None of the staff here can. I'm here to tell you it is time. You have to start making decisions. We brought in a speaker today. This is Mr. Kasper. He's from the Michigan Association for College Admissions Counseling. He knows what he's talking about how to get you in, how you need to make decisions for the next couple years, how to get direction for the future. It's time for you to figure it out. I recommend that you use the next hour to start thinking about it, to have that conversation with yourself where you ask the hard questions. What is next for me? What will I be doing in another year? In 1 year, you will meet with your counselor. And if it's me, I will say to you, honey, what's going to happen on the day of graduation? Then what? You need to have an answer to that question. So this is the time to figure that out. I would use this hour well. I'm going to prep you a little bit for what happens when we come back in the fall, because this is the last time we will see you as a group. By October 7th, which is when we're going to bring in about 30 plus universities. So by October, in your mind, you need to have applied to the schools you want to apply to. We want you in the first pool of applicants so that you get, in a sense, the first draft pick from your universities. So if you need a timeline, when do my college applications have to be done? You say to yourself, October. Ms. Irvin told us October is what we're shooting for. So this summer, you need to have a list of every school you want to apply to. You need to know what their applications look like and go online. You need to know how to send your transcripts. In that yellow guide, we listed everything you need to know to figure out how to find an application, how to fill it out, how to pick schools, how to send a transcript. The whole back page is all about financial aid, what your school options are as far as Michigan goes. So that guide can be really helpful for you if you use it. I have no doubt that sitting in this auditorium, I'm looking at a doctor, an engineer, a graphic design artist, a dancer. I have no doubt about these things. The question is, whose face goes along with that? I have no doubt that we have students going to state. Some of you will go there, some of you will go to Central, some of you may go to the Ivy League. I have no doubt about that. You have to be the one to figure that out, though. You have to make those decisions, put in that effort. So I want your full, undivided attention to go to Mr. Kasper, and he's going to finish up for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good morning. We're all rising seniors, and right now, all across the country, hundreds of colleges and universities have done things like purchase your names, conduct research on you, and decide who is going to be a good fit for their institution. So that all happens without you ever even knowing it. And then you're going to start to get all sorts of mail from places you never heard of, like Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky, Carthage College in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And so I'm here to kind of help you get through that process, because I want you all to be successful in whatever it is you have planned for after high school. And it's not just because a couple decades ago I was sitting here in one of these seats as a Spartan, but as a community member, when you all go out and do things that are more successful, it's good for me too. So we're going to talk about this. Now, I work at Eastern Michigan University down in Ypsilanti, and I do all sorts of fun stuff. I get to work with all of our incoming Division I athletes. I get to work with folks who are auditioning for programs in music and dance. And I also work with transfer students who are transferring from another four-year college or university. So I get to work with all these different populations. And I've been doing this a long time. And so, short story is there are a lot of people out there who want to help you with this process. You've got a lot going on your senior year of high school. This is a complicated process. If you can get through this post-secondary planning process successfully, then I'm pretty confident you've got what it takes to get through life and be very successful at what you attempt. All right, here's the facts. No matter what you have planned for after high school, simple fact of the matter is, the more you learn via post-secondary education and training, the more you will earn. So this is our mantra. Anybody here have a mantra? You get up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say something. This is going to be it, so say it with me. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. That was pretty lame. Sorry. Thank you. Now, I work with statistics every day, so I'm not just going to tell you something and not provide you evidence. Research, facts, yes. Even attempting some sort of post-secondary coursework is going to make you more valuable in the workforce. Associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, professional degrees. You will be more employable and have a higher earnings potential if you pursue any type of education or training after high school. That's the simple fact of the matter. We're going to focus today primarily on the four-year colleges and universities, but I have a few caveats. One, there is an option for every single person in this room after high school. There is no one cookie-cutter solution for everyone here. And for some of us, it's just like buying a pair of shoes. You're going to have to try a few of these things on, walk around in them for a while, and see which one is going to be the best fit. But in order to do this, you're going to have to do something called informed decision making, or making good, rational decisions. And you're going to have to do a little bit of self-reflection to do this. So know yourself. Know your strengths and weaknesses, your interests and skills. Be willing to put in the work. Do the research, do some visits. Have those difficult conversations with your family about money. Nobody wants to talk about the cost of college. The only thing I can tell you that is for certain is it's not getting any cheaper. It's going to get more and more expensive every year. And as rising seniors, the time to start planning is now. That's funny. You can laugh at that. All right. So within four-year colleges and universities, there are a lot of different options. And right now, over this summer, what you need to start thinking about is what is the sort of sense and type of college that is going to be interesting to me. You have national versus regional. We have three national universities in Michigan. The University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, Wayne State University, and Michigan State University. Many of their students come from places other than where they're located. They're nationally recognized. They tend to be pretty big. Regional schools. We have a bunch of those here. Eastern, Western, Central, Grand Valley, Saginaw Valley, Oakland University, Northern Michigan University, Lake Superior State. Those are all of our regional publics. The universities of Michigan at Dearborn and Flint. They're smaller. They tend to draw most of their students from less than 100 miles away. They offer a wealth of programs. They're slightly less expensive. You may be thinking about things as public versus private. Public universities tend to be bigger, but cost less. Private universities tend to be a lot smaller and cost a lot more. Again, it depends on what you're looking for. Any student athletes in the room? I think I saw a few. Are you going to pursue this after high school? If so, what division? 1, 2, 3, NAIA? A lot of different things. And then there are specialty schools. Are you looking for fine and performing arts? Culinary programs, religious affiliation. So these are all things to consider. Now, as you apply to school, the good news is most colleges offer admission to most of their applicants, almost 70% nationally. Highly selective schools, those schools that we all know about, Stanford, Harvard, Princeton, the University of Michigan, and Ann Arbor, what we call our highly selective, there aren't many of them, fewer than 100. So the good news is most schools accept most of the applicants. And in fact, most colleges and universities are not that big. There's only about 150 to 200 schools that we call super big, 20,000 or more students. Now, we're a little spoiled in Michigan because about a half a dozen colleges and universities in Michigan have more than 20,000 students. But the fact is, most colleges are smaller than your high school. They have 2,000 or less students, maybe 2,500. So that's something to think about, coming from a large suburban high school, when you go look at a small private college and realize they only have 1,100 students, about twice the size of your junior class. And you've got a lot of great options. If you choose to stay in Michigan, all the Michigan colleges and universities would love that, but don't set your sights just locally. If If you get offers to go out of state and they're great offers, check them out. Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania right now will probably offer almost everybody in this room $14,000 a year in scholarship to come there to go to school. So you have to, at the end of the day, make sure, does it make sense? Can I afford it? Is it a good fit? All right, now your counselors and teachers here harp on you about grades and test scores and things like that because it is important. At the end of the day, we're looking at who you are on paper. Your transcript, your GPA, your test scores are going to be the most important determining factors in your college search and selection process as to whether or not you're going to be admitted and what type of scholarship offers you will receive. So you've already taken that MME, including the ACT in March. You've got a kind of preliminary benchmark in terms of where you're at. You get this really neat handout here. I love the thing on page 3 that has the GPAs and test scores. There are a lot of things in life that it's perfectly okay to be average at. You never want to be average when it comes to the test scores and the GPAs on this chart. You always want to be above average because then you're sure you're going to get admitted and you're sure you're going to get offered some money. Now you have a lot of great options too to check things out. Your counselors and administrators bring in a couple of dozen colleges and universities for you in the fall to meet with representatives, get that information firsthand. I encourage all of you to take advantage of that. You also have a couple of awesome college fairs in the area. There will be a huge one in the fall at Schoolcraft College with almost 200 different colleges and universities there. And then next spring, there will also be a college fair, a national one, out at the Suburban Showplace, which we just had back in April. Make sure they have what you're looking for. I meet with a lot of students who come to talk to me at Eastern. They want to study mechanical engineering. And I say, oh, that's great. We don't do that. So make sure they have what you're looking for. Make sure the size and the location are a good fit. As I told you in the beginning, I work with students who are transferring back to Eastern from other four-year universities. I meet with a lot of students who go to school far away, and they love their experience, but it was just too far from home. So they're transferring back closer to home. So make sure that location is going to work for you. And the other big thing is cost. A lot of students and their families aren't realistic about the money. They go off to school, maybe out of state or to a very expensive private school. A year or two later, the money dries up. They're back here in this area going to school more locally. So you have to make sure you're thinking about these things on the front end. Financial aid. Now you're going to have an opportunity in your parents to do a financial aid night here in November or December. This is important. There is money out there to help you pay for it. Not all of it is loans. There's a lot of grants. There's a lot of scholarships. But the key for most schools is filing a FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, which you'll do January of your senior year with your parents. You can get the PIN anytime. And when you talk about money, there are a few different factors. Your financial aid awards will come, financial aid offer versus the total cost. A $20,000 a year scholarship at Kalamazoo College is probably not worth as much as a $3,000 a year scholarship at the University of Michigan Dearborn, because the total cost of attendance at Kalamazoo College could be up to $40,000 a year, where your total cost of attendance at U of M Dearborn might be $18,000 a year. So you really have to do that math. Don't be wooed by preliminary offers until you get the bottom line. Visiting campus. All right, so you have a lot of great resources to you now. Your counselors, college representatives, printed materials, the web. There are tons of great things out there like CapEx and Zinch, which will help you find colleges that are a good fit. And when in doubt, ask us. There are tons of great people out there to answer your questions. Other thing too that seems to be the trend is a lot of colleges, and I'm going to use my quotation fingers, there's a lot of schools out there who are kind of moving into our area, and you have to be careful. If they seem like they're over-promising, they might. There are things called accreditations that are very important that you check out. They might be specific to the entire college or specific programs. If you want to be a music educator or music teacher someday, you look for that specific accreditation. If you're going into business, accounting, things like that, you want to look for that specific accreditation. And basically that's saying that, yes, the university has put forth all the resources behind your degree to to make sure that you're meeting or exceeding minimum professional standards. So ask yourself, can I really earn my bachelor's degree without ever getting out of my pajamas? There are people who try, but it may not be entirely possible. All right. Now, by far the most stressful part of this for you and your family are going to be filling out all these applications. Again, that's funny. You can laugh at that. So, take your time. You can start working on these over the summer. We'll start getting our first batch of applications in June and July. Ask for help when you need it. Do things correctly the first time. You don't want to have to go back and fix mistakes that you make on any of your applications. Be realistic and respect the deadlines. Colleges and universities give you deadlines and priority dates for a reason. It's to make sure that we can get everything done and returned back to you. Now I have an application strategy where you can apply to 3 to 6 schools. I like to say, have a couple of reach schools. That might be your dream college. It might be that small private school out of state, or that super specialized culinary or fine and performing arts school, or Stanford. And that's where, it would be a dream come true for you to get admitted. Go for it. You never know. Match schools. That's the schools where you're definitely not average, okay? That you're meeting the average test scores and GPA very comfortably. And then safety schools. That's where no matter what, whatever happens, you know you have a place to be that fall. When we review your application, we look at a lot of different stuff. We collect a lot of different data on you. We're looking at your academic record, what types of classes you've taken. Did you challenge yourself? Did you do well? Are there any trends that we need to look for, either going up or going down, or are you consistently a good student? Your class rank, if your school provides that. Standardized test scores. Did you take the ACT? How many times? What's your composite? Some schools do super scoring, where they take the best of each of your subject area scores and come up with a new composite. Many schools don't do that. Everybody's different. Like I said, there's no cookie cutter approach to this. Some schools take your GPA and test score, load it into a computer, and that's it. There's no human intervention after that point. A computer decides your fate. Other schools do a holistic admissions process where they ask you for a lot of very personal information about you and your family. 3 different people read your essay, and at the end of the day, a committee makes the decision. So there's all sorts of different things. Nowadays, we recommend doing the applications online whenever possible. Most schools are trying to get you away from doing paper applications. And most of us incentivize you filling out an online application. It's either cheaper than the paper application or it might be free altogether. The fee. I have a slide here that talks a little more about fee waivers coming up. Official high school transcripts, your profile, letters of recommendation if required, essays if required, and then they might ask you for other stuff like CSS profiles and things like that, portfolio. All right, now this is really simple stuff, but I want to spend a couple minutes talking about your basic information because I see this every day in our office. Personal information like your name, date of birth. Get it right. If your name is Robert, don't apply as Bobby, because whatever you put on the application is what we're going to put into the system. If your name is Martin, but you go by your middle name, Anthony, but then you shorten it to Tony, not going to work, okay? We have to match everything based on your social security record. Mailing address. That is your permanent mailing address. It should match whatever is on your high school transcript. If your parents are divorced or separated, and at the time you're filling out your applications, you're somewhere for the summer with mom or dad, but it's not where you're going to be living in the fall, we need to have those addresses be consistent. Are you going to make use of the common application? And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And be complete and be honest. You shouldn't be leaving a lot of blank lines on your college application. You should be filling those out as completely as possible. All right, fees. I told you college is expensive. Applying to college is expensive too. Fees range from nothing and upwards of $100 per college. The average is about 40 bucks. We just raised our application fee for the first time in about a decade. It's $35 whether you apply on paper or online. So it's not cheap. A lot of us, like I said, will give you a discount for applying online. When in doubt, ask. If you're applying to different colleges and it's getting expensive, say, hey, is there any way we can reduce or waive this fee? And most places are going to work with you. If you apply online, most places are going to require the payment of the fee using a credit or debit card. And if you do a special event like an open house or a tour, ask at the event, hey, if I apply today and fill out an application for you, do you waive or reduce the fee? If you have a need base or a need, there are fee waivers via MACAC and ACT that your counselors can submit with your application as well. Transcripts. We all want you to submit to us your official high school transcript. It's now easier than ever before because you just simply do it through parchment. And I noticed there's some great instructions on how to do that in your yellow handout. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Other than you can hand carry an official transcript to many colleges and universities as long as it's in a sealed envelope and they will accept that. And for my athletes who all seem to be kind of sitting over on this side, you will need to submit official transcripts to the National Collegiate Athletics Association Initial Eligibility Center in Indianapolis, along with your official ACT scores, and they are going to determine your eligibility for NCAA athletics if you're applying to Division I and II schools. Your counselors do a great job of including your high school profile with your transcripts, and for schools that do a holistic review, they study this thing a lot. They look at how many AP classes are offered at your high school, and then they'll say, well, how many do you take? They look at the degrees that your teachers hold, how many master's degree holders are on the faculty. They look at graduation rates. They look at composite test scores, things like that. So every college and university that I've ever been to, back in the admissions office, has binders full of high school profiles that they study and get out and look at when you apply. Your official test score record. Again, most of the time these are going to come in either on your high school transcript or electronically directly from the College Board or ACT. Most places are not going to accept that student report, but make sure that you're including all of your test scores, especially if you have a higher test score. If you retake later, send it in. That can change a lot of things, including scholarship offers. And recommendations. For those of you that are going to be looking at the more selective and highly selective schools, you're going to have to do things like letters of recommendation. This is important stuff. Think about it as like a job interview. When I go out and look at different jobs and things like that, I want to really think about who I'm going to ask to write a reference letter or letter of recommendation for me. You need to do that too. Make sure you're giving these folks plenty of time. If it's a teacher or a counselor, you want to really think about how well they know you. Do they really know the full range and level of abilities that you possess? Do you get along with the person? Do they like you? You don't want to have somebody who's going to write a less than stellar recommendation. You always want absolutely the best. And make sure that you give them plenty of time, too. 2 weeks is good. You don't want to give somebody too much time because then they'll forget to do it and then they'll write it at the last minute, but they don't want to go in and say, hey, Mr. Corliss, I need a recommendation tomorrow. Because he isn't going to like that. If they have a recommendation form for the person to fill out, make sure you give them a copy of that. Provide a copy of your application, your academic resume if you have one. I'll show you what that looks like. And if they have to mail it in, it's not going in through parchment or Common App or things like that. Give them a stamped addressed envelope, so all they have to do is do the letter, sign it, fold it, pop it in the envelope, and drop it in the mail. You want to make this as easy as possible for a person. As a professional, when I have student employees or students at the university who want me to write reference letters for them, nothing frustrates me more when they don't do any of this stuff for me. And they don't always get the greatest letters. Because I don't know things about them that might be on their resume or on their transcript. All right, now I like this thing called an academic resume. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or super complicated. It's usually one page. It can be bullet points. It's got your basic information, GPA test scores, and then anything outstanding that you've done. Whether it's taking a lot of AP classes, your out-of-school activities, awards, honors, recognitions, special talents, part-time jobs. Colleges and universities love if you had a part-time job. It tells us that you've got it together, you have time management skills, you demonstrate responsibility. To me, that's every bit as valuable as any other extracurricular activity you could have on your transcript or academic resume. Now, if you're going to like religiously affiliated colleges or things like that, they might want to know a little bit more about your family background, or if you're involved with that affiliation. Essays. If you're applying to Michigan State or the University of Michigan, or basically any small private selective college, you're going to need to write a lot of different essays, especially if you're doing the Common App. So make sure that your essay is authentic. Don't go on collegeapplicationessays.com and buy one. Answer the question that they are asking you. And there are a lot of really trippy sort of essay questions out there, like you're stuck on a desert island, you have a roll of Reynolds aluminum foil, sticks, and a book of matches. You know, what do you do? I mean, they're going to ask you some really bizarre questions. Or they might torture you with a question like, tell us about the most traumatic event you've ever had in your life and how you reacted to it. The people who write the essay questions, I'm pretty sure, are really mean and evil. But that's the way it is. Describe yourself without narrating a transcript or resume. They have that stuff. They want to know more about you. Make sure you're the one writing it, and for goodness sakes, have somebody proofread it. You don't want to have an awesome essay and then get to the very end and have a misplaced semicolon and have that ruin all of your chances of college. Although I've never really actually have any first-hand knowledge of a semicolon ruining anyone's future. It is possible. So in other words, oh, come on. Now this was the fun. You know how hard I worked on this? This is the funniest one. Let's face it, if you're applying to the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, you have a 3.9, you have a 30 on the ACT, guess what? 30,000 other applicants do also. On paper, you're all going to look exactly the same. So you better make sure there is something in your essay that makes you stand out. Same goes for Stanford, Harvard, Yale, places like that. You know how many times I'm meeting with all of my college admissions friends and the people from University of Michigan will say, oh my goodness, you have to hear about this essay we got today. That's the only thing I ever hear about is the essay. They never say, oh wow, we got a perfect ACT in today. Because they get hundreds of those every year. Oh wow, we got a 4.0 transcript in today. No, they don't talk about that stuff. They talk about the essays. Any fine or performing arts folks in the room? All right. Oh wow, but there'd be more. You might have to do all sorts of other stuff too. In addition to all that other stuff we just talked about, you're probably going to have to audition. So it doesn't matter if you get admitted to good old EMU and you want to play trombone. You got to go audition. And guess what? They might only have 3 trombone spots this year in the studio. Or they might only have 3 watercolor spots in the art program. So you need to make sure you're following those departmental guidelines for fine and performing arts, making sure you have a portfolio, making sure you're prepped for the audition. So that's something else to be thinking about as well. All right. How many of you are going to be going to Michigan or Michigan State? A few. I thought there'd be more of you. All right. You might want to make use of the Common Application. It allows you to apply to about 450 different colleges and universities across the nation by using one application form. So make sure you check that out, commonapp.org, and then you'll submit all of your stuff through the Common App. Now, most high school counselors don't like when I talk about the Common App because it has been a little bit frustrating lately, but the Common App folks promised everything's better. But you'll submit all of your stuff through there. Kalamazoo College uses the Common App. Michigan State's going to start using it. They delayed it a year. And keeping it organized. How many of you like to keep lists or binders of projects you're working on? You're going to want to start. You're going to want to start. This is a great checklist. It's free. You can get it from capex.com. No, the CapEx people don't pay me. They gave me a hat one time. I didn't like it. But you can get this on their website. It's great to print out a bunch of these, stick them in a binder, use it as your college planning binder. Save everything, copies of everything that you send into colleges. When you're getting ready to send in your application, print everything off, or make a copy of everything if you're mailing it, stick it in that binder. When colleges send you something in the mail, it might be a postcard offering you a scholarship if you do something by a certain date, stick it in that binder. Your acceptance letters, put them in the binder. Scholarship awards, put them in the binder. Sometimes we make mistakes. And if you have a copy of your thing that says, hey, we offered you a full ride scholarship, but yet when you show up in the fall, they don't remember, you've got it in your binder. So make sure you save all of that stuff. Now, yes, I know, it's May 23rd. It's a Friday morning before a long holiday weekend. You're all rising seniors. This is not the most terribly exciting thing for us to talk about in good weather. But this is important stuff. I wouldn't come out here on a Friday morning to spend an hour with you if I didn't firmly believe that this is really, really important, no matter what any of you have planned for after high school. Remember, you're going to need to do something in terms of education and training. That is the name of the game. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time. Colleges and universities, we're open for business all summer. We get terribly lonely. We love for people to come visit us. And in fact, we do all sorts of special visit programs where you can come, apply early, get a free lunch, have some fun, check out the campus. So make yourself a timeline. Set goals for yourself. Say, I'm going to have my list of colleges I'm going to apply to by July 4th. I'm going to have all of my college applications in by Halloween. I'm going to do this by this date. Work on your applications gradually, not all at once. Don't say, all right, I'm going to apply to 12 schools, so that's my project this weekend. You will make mistakes. You will not put forth your best effort if you do it that way. And the other thing, too, is be patient with us. The University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, there's just an article in the newspaper, I don't know if anybody saw it. They break records every year. They receive 50,000 freshman applications for their fall class this year. 50,000 applications. Now, at Eastern, we're a lot smaller than U of M. We've received so far this year about 13,000 freshman applications. I have 8 people who work in our office who process those applications. So you can do the math. Be patient with us. We're pushing a lot of paper. We scan and image 3,000 pages of documents every single day of the week, 5 to 6 days a week, that are part of those applications. So it can take 3 to 12 weeks. Now there's different deadlines. Many colleges and universities use something called rolling admissions, where you apply, your stuff gets processed. If you're admissible, congratulations. University of Michigan does a few different types of admission. So do the other highly selective schools, where you can be bound by deadlines, or they are not obligated to tell you until after a certain date. So be patient with us. But if you follow my advice, thank you. I'm confident that this process will be successful. And if you have questions, there's my email address. You can email me questions. It doesn't even have to be, hey, I want to come to Eastern. It can be about the college search and selection process. And these are some great websites with a lot of great free, emphasis on free, resources that you can use.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Kasper? And then I've got a couple other things on my mind. About the college admissions process or something that he said? Yeah.
The biggest difference is going to be about $30,000. It is the price. College for Creative Studies in Detroit, arguably one of the finest visual arts schools in the world. It's phenomenal. If you wanted to be a graphic designer, and you can afford to go there, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do so. But Eastern, Western, Central, Oakland University all offer phenomenally good art programs. It's just, they're a small art school on the campus of a major university. Kendall College of Art and Design, which is part of Ferris State University. So at the end of the day, if you can, Berkeley College of Music, if you want to be a musician, go to Berkeley College of Music, you can make it work, do it. If not, there are tons of great music programs regionally and locally.
Also, I was thinking about looking at college in Canada. Like, how would you go about that?
It's not impossible. They, in fact, carry many of the same accreditations that U.S. colleges do. The biggest thing is the financial, because there are both public and private colleges in Canada. And actually, their public system of higher education is phenomenal. It's very well funded. And I know a lot of U.S. people who have gone over to Canada to do master's programs and things like that, fully subsidized. So they do have scholarships.
Can you kind of comment to everybody what they need to pay attention to if you're planning on transferring from a community college? How do you do that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, and we have a whole new way for you to do that starting this fall. The state legislature, wanting to make that process more seamless, has created something called the Michigan Transfer Agreement. And so now you will be able to go to any community college in Michigan, follow the Michigan Transfer Agreement, which is a set of general education courses from different disciplines or subject areas. And if you complete that, you should be able to successfully transfer to any four-year public and most of the four-year private schools in Michigan. Just be careful about specific programs. Like if you know you want to start at Schoolcraft and you want to finish your criminal justice degree at Oakland University, go talk to Oakland first. And they'll most likely be able to print out a list of every single class you can take at Schoolcraft that will transfer into that specific program at OU. If you want to do a business degree, accounting or marketing or management at Eastern, but you want to start at Schoolcraft, we'll let you take 90 credit hours, 3 years of your coursework at Schoolcraft, and then we'll let you finish your business degree right here in Livonia. So a lot of those different programs exist. In fact, Schoolcraft College is spending about $4 million on a university center, which means that you'll be able to start at Schoolcraft, stay there, earn your bachelor's degree from 3 or 4 different colleges and universities that are out there. Now, as an EMU person, I hate that, but as a college professional, I think it's awesome that you can do that and make it more affordable. So there are all sorts of different transfer agreements, what we call articulation guides, which are 3+1, which means 3 years of community college work, 1 year of university work. You get your bachelor's degree. So transferring, most students attend 2.5 colleges during their bachelor's degree experience nowadays. So most of you are going to attend more than one school, whether it's going away to Michigan State, taking some gen ed courses, a couple of summers at Schoolcraft or at Henry Ford. Most of you, if you go on to college, are going to attend at least 2 different colleges or universities. Just how it works.
All right, so I have a question for you. And you have to think for a second. How many of you already know what you want to major in college? Oh, wow, that's fabulous, half of the room. Can you comment a little more specifically? So if you guys know what you want to major in, how do they research universities to find that match of a quality program for that major?
Yeah, it can be as simple as looking at the specific catalogs at each individual school. Do you use career cruising here? I like career cruising. The tool has a degree, a program finder tool that'll help match you to schools that have your specific program. I think it's great that so many of you know exactly what it is that you want to do, but keep in mind that most of you are going to change your mind at some point. So focus a lot on your general education studies your first year of school without taking anything super specific, unless you get into programs like nursing, engineering, things like that, healthcare. Then they're going to want you to start. Oh, question over here.
What about the whole research about computers and maybe to colleges. Can you comment on the publication of U.S. News and World Report, top best colleges? Should they be using that? Is it a balance? Things look confusing? Are there better publications?
You know, it's called U.S. News and World Report, not U.S. Education. I mean, but no, but I mean, I wasn't correcting you. I mean, education is not their primary thing. They have some great guys. I like the books from Princeton Review are awesome. Peterson's is great. College Board has great resources. U.S. News and World Report does some neat things, but at the end of the day, rankings are just that. They're rankings. They don't mean a whole lot to employers. You know, when you're interviewing for an engineering job at the Ford Motor Company, they're more concerned about your abilities, your skills, than where you picked up. I mean, obviously, they want you from an accredited program, but their companies are going to really recruit locally and regionally. They're not going to come in and say, oh, you went to a U.S. News and World Report top 10 ranked school. Oh, that's great. Nobody ever said that. So you don't have to feel like you need to pay more for a college experience at a top ranked school when there are a lot of other options that are just as affordable.
Yeah, question right in the back.
Yes. And really now, there is more scholarship money available for more students for like your age and beyond than there ever has been before. Colleges and universities in Michigan have been told by the people who give them their funding, the state government, that they need to put an emphasis on making transferring easy and affordable. So we are putting financial money behind it. As long as you do well. You can go to Schoolcraft. If you're a good student, you can go to Schoolcraft, potentially earn a trustee scholarship, essentially get your associate's degree for almost free. And I mean really almost nothing. If you do well there, take all your classes, earn a 3.0 or a 3.5 or higher, there's no reason why your final 2 years of college should cost any more than what the price Schoolcraft would charge you off the street. I mean, there's a lot of great financial opportunities out there, but you have to make sure you follow deadlines, get things done on time. If you are thinking about starting at a community college and transferring, don't take a lot of stuff you don't need. It's really tempting, like OCC has a really fun class, history of rock and roll. Great, sounds like fun. Not going to help you if you're earning a nursing degree. Eastern, we offer a ton of great recreational classes. You can learn how to river kayak, you can take a yoga class for academic credits, scuba diving. Those are great, only if you need elective credits. If you're taking those instead of your English comp or your chemistry or American government, you're going to end up spending more time and more money in school than you need to.
There's something else I was thinking about. Oftentimes students aren't sure what they want to major in, so half of you know, half of you don't know. Here's the advice if you don't know. Actually, even if you do, you got to try it out. So here's what I mean by that. If you really think you want to go into nursing or something in the medical profession, this summer you should try volunteering like at St. Mary's or Angela Hospice, working with people that are sick or dying so that you know or you're in that environment. If you immediately go, oh my gosh, that intimidates me, no way. You need to rethink, I think, what you want to go into. I know that may sound simple, but if you're thinking I want to work with children, but you start working in a daycare center over the summer and like, I can't stand little kids, you got to rethink. If you don't have any idea, you got to get out there. You got to shadow people. Friends of your parents that you think have a cool job. Ask if you can go to work with them one day. You have to make an investment in kind of learning these things. I just had a young lady in my office a couple weeks ago. She got into Michigan State and Central. Michigan State was her #1 choice since I've known her as a freshman. She finally went and visited the campus. She hated it. I was actually surprised she had not been on campus before or seen the dorms. She hadn't. She had Michigan State in her head because, of course, they're in the news all the time. She thought it was a cool school. As soon as she goes there, she didn't like the campus. So last minute, she decided to go to Central because she went there and she felt like she was at home. I'm telling you that for a reason. You have this summer to do that kind of research. If you have in your head that I'm going to Grand Valley all the way, baby, because I want to live on the west side of the state, but you have never been to that school, you need to go to that school. If you have it in your head that you want to be something when you grow up, and you've never done it before, haven't seen it happen, you really don't have any experience with it, you want to get some experience this summer so that you know what you're talking about. You're making what we call an informed decision. It's really important that you do that. Really important. The other thing that was on my mind as Mr. Kasper was speaking, we have had some students go to write their essays. He just told you that in a highly selective school, your essay makes or breaks you. Here's what you have to think about. Colleges want to know you. A couple of times we've had students have other people help them write their essays, or like he said, they've gotten them offline. Colleges can see that. They know that. This is what these guys do. They read 13,000 essays. They're not uneducated. They know what they're looking for. Be yourself. So the way to do that is to start thinking about what are my talents? What are my skills? What are my hobbies? What am I like as a person? Where am I going in the future? What are my goals? I would start listing those things. I heard some of you laughing when he talked about getting organized, which made me laugh because, yeah, get organized. Start thinking about it. It's always amazing to me what we call like the last minute applications. Where now, you know, when we were in April in the counseling office, it was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I was graduating in a couple months. I know you told me to do this 10 different times, but I didn't do it yet. You have the summer. Make those decisions. I can see that some of you are really good friends. Make a list of different schools you want to go to. Get one of your parents to drive you around the state for a weekend and visit the schools. You really want to be organized. The other thing that was on my mind, which Mr. Kasper did not talk about, but I'm going to have to, I'm going to put you on the spot. We have had a couple students who've had inappropriate things on Facebook pages or accounts. Do colleges look at that?
Some do, and some don't. But most of us are going to ask you, as part of your application, if you've ever gotten into trouble, either in high school or middle school or with the law. In fact, that is a requirement for the 15 public universities to ask you about that. So, yeah, I mean, small, private, highly selective schools, they're probably already creeping on all of your stuff as they're trying to form their class for next year. Schools that get thousands and thousands of applications, probably not. But once you're a student in college, too, be very, very careful about what you do. And if you are going to do something stupid, don't broadcast it to the world. That's my best advice, and just in general, whether you go to college or not. But yeah, your decisions that you make now can follow you around for an awfully long time. So, as one of my colleagues often said, the best advice we can give you is just don't be stupid about it.
Yeah, so I asked him that question on purpose. We have actually had students who've been put on probation or had their admissions revoked because they made inappropriate decisions. Here's something we have to do as a counselor, just so you know. We have to sign off on all of you when you go to apply to a university. And one of the questions we get asked is about your discipline record. So some of you already know, oh my gosh, there may have been some things that I did here when I was a freshman, sophomore, and wasn't thinking as an adult. that I regret, we get to comment on that and say we've seen change. Colleges want to see that you're maturing, you're growing, you're changing into an adult. The decisions you make, even on Facebook and Twitter, reflect you because your name's attached to it and goes flashing with your picture or with your comment, with your postings.
And the other thing I would say too is we're all going to be admitting you. We do what's called a good faith admissions decision based on your record through the successful completion of your junior year. We are required then over the summer after you graduate to collect your final transcript. And if you slacked off your senior year and your grades dropped, what we give, we will take right back. And I've had to make those phone calls over the years to students who thought they were all set to come in the fall and say, hey, your grades dropped, your GPA dropped, your admission has been rescinded. Good luck with the plan.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because we're hitting that time now for your peers that are graduating in a week. And we're having those conversations with them that we're worried that they're going to be revoked, once they try Indeed because we know what's coming. I can't stress to you enough how important the decisions you make from here on out are. If you have questions or need us, you know where we are. The bell's going to ring in about 1 minute. Make sure you take every